So, what a year it's been. 2023 has been a crazy year, from geopolitics to finance to markets to everything. And the beginning of every year, I always send out a list of predictions for the year for the people that I care about. And I want to just go through my predictions for 2023 and what they were. And in fact, I'm going to be releasing a video soon on my predictions for 2024. And so, this last year I wasn't public as British HODL, so this wasn't out there on video. My 2024 predictions are going to be out on video, so it's going to be involving more reputational align, so to say, and they're going to be crazy. So please subscribe to the channel so that you can actually see it. My predictions are Bitcoin related, more market related too, and really politically related as well. So please subscribe to the channel so you catch that video on my 2024 predictions on what's going to happen for Bitcoin, price-wise, the US presidential election, the interest rates, and everything else. So make sure you subscribe, and that video will be coming out in the next few days. But my 2023 predictions that I sent out, I put a screenshot of it on the screen, was sent out on the 9th of January 2023. So I want you to cast your mind back to what was going on the 9th of January 2023. The Federal doom and gloom boomers are out here saying that the Federal Reserve is going to hike rates until we get to 15%. That the world is going to absolutely collapse. The economy was never going to come back. We're going to be in a 20-year, depression. It's absolutely possible, etc., 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 right? And so let's go through my list of predictions that I laid out on the 9th of January, and you can grade me in the comments as to what you think or how you think I did on the 9th of Jan. And of course, I'm going to make a habit of doing this every year, so please subscribe so that you see my 2024 predictions for Bitcoin and everything else. So prediction number one that I made was that inflation will hit a downward spiral unexpected by the Fed. The compounded effect downwards will result in a resumption of some form of QE and looser monetary policy by August. Now, that was sent out obviously on the 9th of January, and of course by March we had SVB failing, and they launched a new service to basically suck up all of that. So I think I got a tick on that one. Number two, the S&P 500 and NASDAQ will have 20% plus up years in 2023. The S&P is up 20 plus percent. The futures are already at an all-time high. I'm waiting for the market to hit an all-time high, and the NASDAQ is up, 50%. So it's been a pretty good prediction on that one, right? The S&P and the NASDAQ will have a 20% plus up year. Number three, I said President Biden will stop supporting the Ukraine war by summer in preparation for the new election cycle. And of course, what happened? Started seeing funding dwindle away for the Ukraine war. And of course, we pivoted towards an Israeli war, which is, it sounds so horrible to say, especially with how many people's lives are being screwed, both in Ukraine and in Israel and in Palestine. But we pivoted now towards the Hamas and Israel war. So I think I get like a 0.5 on that if I was grading myself, right? Number four, the DXY, the dollar index, will fall because the dollar is getting so strong, so it will fall to at least 96. And so far on the 29th of December, we've fallen to a low of 98. So I guess I missed that one, right? And number five, the final prediction, was that Bitcoin will close above its 200-week moving average and have breached $30,000 at some point this year. And of course, as you guys know, we've obviously closed above the 200-week moving average. And of course, we're currently sitting at like 42 or whatever it is. So we're above the $30,000. These were my predictions while we were in the heat of doom and gloom boomerang. This is when all of your favorite Twitter Bitcoin celebrities were telling everyone that the world is going to collapse, and they're watching the liquidity, and they're, the whole everything is gonna get destroyed. All the, it was crazy. This is when people were selling their Bitcoin because they thought it was going to $5,000, $12,000 a coin, etc., etc. So, this is, I think I did overall pretty well. Let me know what grade you think I got out of all of these 5 predictions in the comments. But, this was quite easy to see. Nothing ever moves in, one of the things that I learned after going through 2008. So I was pretty lucky and blessed in my life because 2008 was my first ever recession, right? I was in business, I was negotiating property deals, and 2007, 2008, the credit crunch and then the following recession was my first ever recession. Now, the good news is when you study cycles, that type of thing only happens once every sort of 70 to 80 years. So luckily in my lifetime, I might be able to see two, and the next one I'll be able to see and take advantage of. But, going through 2008, what you learn is that cycles always play out. So we could be having the worst time right now, but things, tend to always get better, and they don't tend to absolutely collapse most of the time. And so I think 2008 really prepared me for 2020, which is when I obviously made the pivot into Bitcoin, out of my other investments and into Bitcoin, as most of you know that have followed my story. And then, now being able to see what was going on with the credit cycles, the best gift that I ever received was understanding that the real estate market is not based on the real estate itself. It's based on the credit around the real estate. And after realizing that in 2008, because the type of property deals that we were into was, in the UK, you could basically do a cash completion followed by an instant remortgage on the valuation of the property, right? And that basically made me realize that on the day of completion, I could buy a property for $500 or £500, and on the day of completion, the mortgage company was going to send me, £30,000-40,000 per property at the low interest rate at the time. And of course that led to the big blow up, and then it basically this market stabilized and started moving up, and now the area in which that I and my family were buying properties was the best performing area, even though it had the worst crash. So and that's in Canary Wharf in London. So what I realized was that it wasn't about the real estate, it wasn't about the property, it was about the credit cycles surrounding the property. And therefore, I went through the learning process for the next 8 to 12 years, really. And then 2020 came along, and I was ready, right? In 2020, I had told the clients of my investment education business that we would see a new, and in the lows of March, I said we will see a new market high, a new stock market high by July 26th, and it happened on August 12th. So, once you understand that everything is based on credit cycles, you can start understanding what's going to happen, and you can start getting detached from the actual assets themselves. A lot of people, including people that have built their wealth through property, seem to think that property is the thing and the property is doing the driving for their wealth. It's really the credit cycles. And if you can monitor the credit cycles, you know when to refi, you know when to put capital to work, you know when to take capital off the table, etc., you can sort of work out what's going to happen to asset prices. And of course that means that right now we've had one of the longest bear markets outside of a recession, technical recession, ever. And the cycle's now turning and everything's changing. And of course I'm going to put out the video about what I think is going to happen for 2024. So I want you to subscribe so you don't miss that video over the next coming days. But once you understand what's going on in the credit cycles and how capital is being tightened up and loosened up to get the result that the Federal Reserve and the powers that be want, you can then start moving capital around. And it's why I've made I've taken this bear market to make the allocations that I've made, and generated liquidity in certain places and placed certain positions to take advantage of the shift in the credit cycles, right? And so, again, let me know what you think. Again, I'll reiterate my predictions. Number one was that inflation will hit a downward spiral unexpected by the Fed. The compounded effect downwards will result in a resumption of some form of QE and looser monetary policy by August. And of course, it happened by March with SVB. Number two, the S&P 500 and NASDAQ will have 20% up plus up years. They both did. Number 3, President Biden will stop supporting the Ukraine war by summer in preparation for a new election cycle. And of course, by summer, there was a new war to focus on that is much more beneficial for American election cycles, even though that's an awful thing to say. Number 4, the DXY will fall to at least 96. We hit 98. And bear in mind, these were made at times where everyone thought the world was going to collapse. Number 5, Bitcoin will close above its 200-week moving average and have breached $30,000 at some point this year. And of course, as you know, if you've been following Bitcoin at all, we absolutely have done that. So, yeah, there's a lot that's happened here. And again, I follow credit cycles more than I follow the asset, because the asset is just a downstream reflection of what's going on as far as the credit goes. My main point this year and for this video is doom and gloom boomers are a complete and utter waste of time to listen to. They're right, maybe. Do you remember when everyone was saying value investing was back? How's the NASDAQ done what it's done this year compared to anything else, right? Value bros and all of these people, these doom and gloom boomers, are correct for maybe 2 years out of every 15 in an inflationary system. In a deflationary system, they might be righter for more years on average. But in an inflationary system, you need to pursue growth, which is what happens. And once you understand the overall cycle and flow of things, you can start taking certain positions to benefit from that. That's really it. The game is run at a much higher level than any Twitter analyst, including myself, or YouTube analyst, is going to be able to put together, because the game is run based on credit, not on what's going to happen to certain asset prices. And so, again, there's people who thought that we were going to enter the type of recession like 2008 without realizing that that type of recession only comes around once every 70 years. So you cannot be scared in the market. Scared money is the easiest way to lose that money. Scared money don't make no money, as they say. So be careful of the doom and gloom boomers. Be careful of the $10 a month Twitter DCA gang. Be careful of these people, the $1,000 net worthers, and the happy hippies. The happy hippies are kind of crazy because they don't operate on fear. They operate on happiness. And the others operate on fear, and they end up with the same damn result. At the end of the day, if you're trying to figure out how do you protect the legacy that you've worked so hard to build, you need to understand how the game is played on a higher level. And obviously this year we've had, the arrival of these spot Bitcoin ETFs. One of the predictions that I made, of course, if you've been following, later on in the year is around Bitcoin and its ESG friendliness and all this other stuff as a result of the markers that were hit with BlackRock filing for the ETF. And of course, now it looks like, I said we'll get a Bitcoin ETF in 2023. It wasn't in this 9th of January prediction, but I said it later. And listen to me, I'm going to say this loud and clear. If we get an ETF approved in January, right, like the 8th, 9th, or 10th, like the Bloomberg guys are saying, I'm still going to take credit for it and say I was right that it happened in 2023. And all the $1,000 net worthers are going to be so pissed off with me. I'm going to enjoy reading all of your comments saying, oh no, I was wrong because I was 8 days out. Trust me, I wasn't wrong. I was absolutely right. It happens Jan 8th, 9th, 10th, 2024, and my prediction that it was going to happen in 2023 is absolutely correct. And if you don't understand that, you're probably in the $1,000 net worth gang. So, that's going to be fun to watch. But basically, those are my predictions that I sent out. Grade me in the comments what you think regarding that. And of course, subscribe, because I'm going to be putting out my 2024 predictions for the world, Bitcoin, markets, etc., as we go into the next few days. And I hope you're having a very, very good and nice preparation for New Year's and planning what happens for your 2024. And hopefully it's a successful 2024. Hopefully you're not just sitting on the sidelines waiting for the world to affect you. Hopefully you are planning to leave your mark on the world and allow your progeny to leave its mark on the world. But ultimately, despite my predictions, despite what I think about my predictions, despite me being right, even if the spot Bitcoin ETF shows up in 2024 about my prediction that it will happen in 2023, there are still only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, you shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.